This is the Relentless podcast. My name is Christine. I'm a small business owner and student of success. I have become obsessed with talking with other entrepreneurs about their strategies, struggles, tactics, and routines. One of the key qualities that all of these individuals have in common, their ability to be relentless. Welcome back to the show. I'm Christine, and I am joined here by Brad Ellis. He is the owner of Fall Street Brewing. He is managing the cafe at Bonadent. He is a master brewer. He is a husband and soon-to-be father. And most importantly, he was my junior prom date. So welcome to the show, Brad Ellis.
It's my most important credential for sure.
Yes.
Your junior prom date back in high school.
Well, we've certainly known each other for a long time, and who would have thought that we would end up owning businesses, at least for now, right next door to each other.
What a wonderful thing.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about myself. I mean, I'm like a jack of all trades, master of none, classic example of that. But like you said, I'm also a husband, a son. It's the kind of the things I like to try to keep in the forefront. It's easy to get consumed by business ownership sometimes, but I mean, honestly, I have so many interests. I always joke that I'm like plagued with being eternally curious, and it's like a blessing and a curse all at the same time. But my backgrounds kind of rest in natural resources. I hold a bachelor's degree from Cornell University, and I hold a master's in education from Roberts Wesleyan College in Rochester, and I love music. I love arts. I love creating. I consider myself a creator, among many things. I mean, where do we start, right? Where do we end?
Yeah. Well, curious people are my absolute favorite. And I love people who create. Being in the modern world of, online creators, it's kind of become a different thing. But I love being around people who are curious and who are just contributing in general.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you opened Fall Street Brewing, it was such a great addition to Fall Street because, over the last couple of decades, main streets have been dying a little bit as the shift to online has come about. But I feel like a little bit things are kind of coming back the other way, and that there's starting to be some younger, newer interest in brick and mortar, face-to-face type businesses. Do you feel that way with your place?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're kind of living in an age of information abundance. A lot of people kind of look at social media and the kind of the current state of the internet is this kind of like poisonous thing, but there's a lot of us young people, young entrepreneurs who are kind of taking kind of the good sides of social media, the good sides of the internet, and being connected at the click of a button. We're just moving away from being able to remember and memorize definitions in a dictionary. We don't have to do that anymore. We have basically an encyclopedia in our pocket. Now we just have to really ask ourselves, good questions, to get good answers. But kind of where I'm going is this age of information abundance. There's a resurgence of, crafting and people learning online and getting back to craft and really handmade stuff and, real craftsmanship, which is, dying, and we do have to save that. But I feel like people are able to access information and learn how to do things that, may have been forgotten someday. Craft beer is just like one of those things where it's a big online community. There's a great local community going on. We're all sharing information, and it's wonderful, and trying to research the downtown environments and bring some of those things back.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much information and so much exposure that it's almost like hard to kind of pick a lane sometimes. Yeah. But it seems like like you said, you have a master's in teaching.
That's right. Yeah.
And even after you opened your business, you took a year and went and took a job in teaching and then came back. So when I announced yesterday that you were going to be a guest on the show, one of the questions that one of the followers wanted to know was, why did you go come back from teaching, and what were the similarities and differences between teaching and being your own boss as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think, I'm, among being like eternally curious person, I love to teach and to share information and to like inspire wonder in other people. It's not that I really dislike teaching. I really love teaching, and I really love being in a school. And I love the environment. I love the kids. I love I love the colleagues that I had in the past. But it's just, I've always wanted to be a business owner. I've always wanted to be a self-made man, and to, create something from nothing. Throughout this podcast, you'll probably hear this common theme of me being a creator. And that's just kind of my love language to humanity and just the people that are around me. So I like to create, I like to share, and I like to see the look on their face. And that's kind of like trumped school a little bit. It's not that I don't love school. I just love being a business owner more.
Yeah.
That's just kind of what it comes down to for me. Education's its own beast with its own problems, and and it needs great people all the same. And I wish I could clone myself sometime so I can do everything. But we do have to pick a lane, and and what are we going to be 100% about? What are we going to be 100% passionate about? Because that's what it's going to take.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like you can impact and mold so many lives in the role that you do have, because you're creating economic opportunities for people. You're building teams, and you're finding people who are passionate about cooking and brewing and all of that. And so, there are more ways to impact young minds, And I think sometimes, unfortunately, in the education system, God, I can't talk today. I think that there's not always an interest and a passion there because of the structure. And I feel like sometimes people need to be outside of that environment to really absorb and learn and find things that really just make them feel alive. I mean, do you agree?
I kind of agree. And, I think there's a lot of wonderful teachers in education right now that they're kind of breaking the mold of this, historically, kids sitting in rows and desks, having to be quiet. And if kids act out, they pump them full of medications and stuff like that. And, and then it just goes back to the Industrial Revolution days of people sitting in rows in factories. And public school was basically formed to serve that. But, we've come so far since the Industrial Revolution. The world has rapidly changed, as we know, obviously. But school has kind of, it's tough for school to adapt as quick as the world changes sometimes.
Sure. In
my eyes. And that's just my opinion. But going back to what you said, just inspiring kids' passions, it's like we almost do have to have like this educational overhaul to bring the joy back into kids' lives and to discover what kids are really super passionate about. Creating opportunities for kids.
Yeah.
And, there's common themes between business ownership and, managing and being a good leader to your team. And there's a very similar threads as well with teaching and in guiding a classroom. And teachers kind of, in my eyes, need to teach less and just facilitate more and provide more opportunities. The teaching will happen. Yeah. Just provide the kids literally whatever they want to do in school, provide them opportunities to create, to discover passion, how to ask really good questions. Because again, you got this encyclopedia in your phone. Now the limitations are, what's the quality of my question that I'm asking? I need to ask the right question to get the right answer that I'm looking for. So you can't just put anything in. You really need to know how to use the technology. And I feel like the more kids learn how to do that, the more we'll see like the advancements in, the internet, social media. It will actually, be more in a positive light, portrayed in a positive light.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it is a wonderful tool. It is a tool. It can be used for good and for bad, unfortunately.
Yes, good and evil. Well, and one of the things that you guys have been doing lately with that tool and on your social media is I love that you've kind of been giving a little bit of a sneak peek into the brewing process.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, you are relocating. You started on the corner of Fall and State Street.
Yeah, right next to you.
You're going to be moving across to a massive building that you purchased last year. So kind of tell us about that process and what that's all like.
Yeah, so that's been a pretty wild ride since last September when we purchased the building. back in 2022. But that's, it's been going really great. We've been focusing on the first story. We're just going to be manufacturing beer, kombucha, cider. And then there's 2 more stories above us. The third story is actually on the Fall Street level, which is where the new brew pub will be, which was where our kitchen will be. So basically, where everybody will come and gather and hang out. And
there's going to be some new features, right? Are we allowed to spill the details on that?
So, well, happy to spill the details. I tell everybody I possibly can. We're going to be building a brick oven for wood-fired pizzas. So we're going to be focusing more like just a few things. If we can just focus on doing like pizza and doing brunch on Saturday, Sunday, featuring the brick oven for our brunch features,
nice.
Our brunch options. It's going to be really great. And just we really want to make a niche, like fill a niche on Fall Street.
Yeah.
Which, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of wonderful stuff going on. You got Parker's, you got Red Brick, you got the deli. So you got a little bit of everything. And we're just trying to add something a little different that's going to be more of a draw for people to come out, regionally speaking. So, drawing from, Geneva, Auburn people, and maybe down to Ithaca, for people who are hitting up their wine trails and want to stop in for a pizza and some good ambiance and some good camaraderie.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've obviously, being friends and being in proximity to you, I noticed that you guys, like us, you attract people from all over the state, really. You get cyclists from the Ithaca area, you get people from all over. What do you think it is about your brand and your atmosphere that attracts people?
Yeah, I think we just, we focus on having a little something for everybody, whether it's a latte, a breakfast sandwich, a craft beer, a glass of kombucha, in just the ambiance, and then just the way we kind of treat the customer as they come in the door. Everybody is greeted. Everybody gets a hello as they come through the door, and it's just really neat. It's lined with brick, brick walls, and it's got this old feel. It's like really cozy, and it's just, again, it's kind of going back to those handcrafted stuff too. I think people really want an authentic experience. And that's a whole other podcast that we can talk about authenticity and what that means. But I think what that means to me downtown is just stuff that's handcrafted, made with intention, skilled, a lot of research and a lot of work is put into what we do. And we're just super proud of that. And we're not afraid to, boast ourselves and to talk and to talk ourselves up. And again, I just think people want something unique, something place-based, something, that you can't find anywhere else. And that's what we really try to strive to do is, find our voice, our image, and, who we want to be. And I still think we are figuring that out every day. And I think the important thing is to be pliable, because the times change all the time, And, if you have your core values and you're pliable, you can roll with the times. And I think you'll always be relevant,
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of fun to think about those things.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. When you and I were growing up, I feel like chains were kind of the big thing. Like if, you had like a birthday dinner, you went to like Applebee's or Chili, and not complaining about them, like great for them. But I feel like there has been a little bit more of a shift where people want to step away from the chains and the big box stores. And they are looking for a little bit of that unique brand that, kind of what they refer to as like ethical capitalism in your instance, where it's like, you're someone who you want to create an amazing space for people to go. You want to create great jobs. You want to be, to be a big part of like the sustainability movement and all of these things.
Absolutely.
And I think that, your customers are attracted to that. And I think that, you and Anna and all the staff that you've had, you all kind of radiate that same just good vibe for people when they come in. And so, is that something that's intentional? Do you kind of reiterate that to your employees, or is it just that you attract those people?
I think we are. Well, I don't think. I know we are. We're super intentional about those things. I think we've been so for such a long time, and now it's just really it's kind of second nature to us. Whether it's like we compost everything, all organic waste that we create, whether that's brewing grains or scraps left over from lunch service, you know, to sourcing our, you know, raw goods from local vendors, whether it's, you know, the malted barley that we use, the hops that we use, or any produce that might be in season. You know, we're always interested in looking out and, you know, not only supporting local people, but also developing those relationships and building that network. And it's such an invaluable thing that is going to just, we believe that will catapult us, and we're going to grow together, and we're going to come up together. And I think when you think about those things, it's more purpose driven, and it's still a little bit easier to get up out of bed every morning and go and do it, because, you know, this level of connection, you feel connected to it. You almost don't want to let it down, or, you know, everybody wants to be a part of something, you know, and that's my thing. And yeah, we are super intentional about that. And we are always learning, or, you know, got our minds open to learn new things as we go along and doing things better, and just being a better partner in the community as a whole. That's kind of like the big picture for us.
Yeah. Well, and I think things get so crazy sometimes. I mean, you juggle like 1 million things. I don't know how you do it. Sometimes you make me look lazy. But, you know, it is nice to kind of take a step back too and be like, wow, we're really kind of creating something amazing here. You know, it's like you can get so wrapped up in the busyness of the day to day and, oh, I got to be here at this time and then back. And then all of a sudden you take a step back and you walk in your place and it's busy with people on a Saturday. And you're just like, oh my God, I built this. Like,
it is, yes, it is definitely a lifestyle. Yeah. And I think, you know, I really do feel like I just get up out of bed every day. I show up, I put my feet on the ground. I show up to the shop at Bonnedet, wherever I, you know, I'm supposed to be every day. And it just kind of feels like the kitchen at Bonnedet's like an extension of my kitchen at home, or, you know, the shop that, you know, on the corner is like, you know, extension of my living room almost. And, you know, my brewery is just like, you know, my shop out back of my house. It just feels like extensions of, you know, my being. And I just kind of just feels like I'm just living my life every day. And I don't think it makes it any less exhausting or stressful, but it does it's a wonderful perspective to have about it, when you just feel like you're getting up and you get to live your life every day, and you get to do all these awesome things. Yeah. And it does get crazy, and, you know, life is crazy, but it really is such a, I feel so blessed to be able to do it, that I've like done it for long enough to where I feel like I'm just snapped in, to where I just feel like I'm living my life. And, you know, of course there's moments where like, oh, I wish I was just home kind of relaxing, you know, and I'm just like everybody else when it comes to that. But, you know, whether I'm brewing or cooking, whatever it is, ordering, you know, goods for the upcoming week, it just really feels like I'm just living my life. And what a wonderful thing to kind of have it feel like, you know.
Yeah, I know. I think about that sometimes too, because the burnout can be real. I mean, sure. You know, not to sugarcoat anything, but yeah. And then I have these moments where I think back to like Sunday nights when I would be like, oh, fuck, I got to go to work tomorrow, and literally be dreading the next day, you know, and I don't feel that anymore. And so, I mean, it is a trade-off, because at that point when I would clock out at 5:00 on a Friday, it'd be like the weekend, baby, we're going, you know, and it would be
when the tables turn. You
know, there's definitely trade-offs there, but I feel like this life that we chose, it just has so many rewards to it. And it's, you know, it's tiring. It's stressful. You know, the worry. We have a door, Brad and I, that connects each other to each other's place. And sometimes we'll come over and we'll be like, "It's dead. Oh my God, we're done. We're leaving." Good run. It was a good run, guys. Good run. That's our line to each other. It was a good run.
We're going out of business now. It's like never ever true.
Like, I know. Like, you have to laugh, because I mean, it's a roller coaster, and
we do trade off on that. From, you know, like 1 week you'll be in that position, and then like the next week it'll literally be me, and like you'll be, you know, feeling better and
be like, it's okay, buddy, like, ride it out, you got this.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the worst and best thing I've ever done. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I wouldn't. You'd have to pry it out of my dead cold hands, you know, to stop, you know.
Yeah.
Literally have to get hit by a bus to stop me, you know?
Well, and it is nice to just have other people that are kind of in a similar place, on a similar path, to just be, you know, to commiserate with a little bit. And that's one of my missions kind of for this podcast too, is because we don't always get to just sit down and chat. And so for people to hear, you know, what we're going through, and they might be like, oh my God, okay, it's not just me. I'm not crazy, you know?
Yeah, it's nice to have, you know, this, you know, I always use the C word, community. You know, I think it's a, you know, I'll be honest, it's kind of an overused buzzy word at this point in time, but it is true. When you know it, you feel it, you know, that's what it is. Like, you know, community, like we really do know what that means. You know, when you, just all the examples that we're throwing around, being able to lean on each other, the professional networkings, the relationships you have with your vendors, like that's just, it's so great, you know, and knowing you're not alone, I think is such a powerful thing, whether it's anything you're doing in life.
Yeah.
You know, I just think us as humans, like we really didn't evolve like that. Like our survival is directly tied to each other, you know, and if it wasn't, we'd all be living solitary lives, and nobody gets anywhere on their own.
No.
And it's a wonderful thing for you know, creating that platform with this podcast. It's such a great thing. It is so powerful, you know, and the amount of stuff that we can do together, and just standing in solidarity, talking, working through things, and the good and the bad. Yeah. You know?
I know. And I mean, I feel pretty lucky too that I had this through the pandemic, because so many people felt so incredibly isolated. And the truth is if I didn't have to run this business, I know myself, I would have gone right into my little turtle shell and been like, yep, staying home. Like, I would have isolated and gone into more depression and more anxiety. And it was like, I had this purpose that was outside myself that kept me connected to people. I mean, we gained so many customers and friends, and I felt like, you know, other businesses and we became closer and more connected. And so it's like, I'm so grateful coming out of such a dark time that there were these good things, you know?
Yeah, it's such a wonderful thing too, when we, again, you know, the powers of perspective, when you're able to, you know, look in the past, and, you know, you get through it, and you could either like really take the good stuff out of it and look at it from that lens, or you can like feel bad about it. And I think we both have, you know, it was a challenging time to get through, you know, starting a business like literally like 2 months before the shutdown.
Yeah.
And, you know, you had started not, you know, I think you had a year or two under your belt at that time. You were in this building to start.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And just, you know, I mean, we were both young enough in business to where it was really scary. And I'm a big reggae fan, so I always like kind of look at Bob. I love Bob Marley quotes. And he said, you don't know how strong you are until you have to be.
Yeah.
And I think you being in this position with your business, you know, it's like you had to be strong. Like you realized that you were, because you had to be strong for something. And I think that's where we see our true strength, is those moments where we have to be strong. You know, when everybody's panicking in the room, and you're like, you want to panic too, but like you have to hold it together for everybody else, you know, and to survive, you know, and you just, I think it's a great thing. And I think it is a testament to how far you've come, you know, for sure, you know, and how far we both come together, you know, and being neighbors.
I know that I thought of I think it's a Mike Tyson quote, where everyone has a plan till you get punched in the face. I felt like COVID was just a big punch in the face. But it was so interesting, because I've always been kind of an emotional person, and I would wear my emotions on my sleeve. And all of a sudden I'm in this role where I have to help keep my staff calm and keep things going. And so, you know, it definitely was like a test in resilience. And to be honest, I had a lot of moments where I did stop for a second. I was like, holy crap, like, I'm actually really proud of myself. You know, I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of my team. I can't believe we're doing this. And then, you know, we kind of found our stride. And luckily too, I mean, I think we can both agree that we have just the C word again, your C word, community. We just had this group of people that were so supportive. And, you know, that ultimately was what got all of us through, right? So I think, and that was one of my questions for you is, in Seneca Falls, again, a lot of people may look at opening up a business in a small town as a disadvantage. How do you feel about that? I'm sure that there are probably some nuanced answers to that, but what are your thoughts on opening up here?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'll be honest. I had way more supporters than doubters. Mm-hmm. There were people that doubted me, and those are just the people that I knew about that told me. They're like,
right.
Is Seneca Falls going to show up? Mm-hmm. That's what one guy said, and I'll never use names, but that's what he asked me.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was kind of a shot. Like the tone and the timbre of the voice was like, is Seneca Falls going to show up? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know they will, because, I just have that inside scoop. I mean, I was born and raised here. I know what's coming around the corner. I know it's already come around the corner. And speaking of like good things that have come out of COVID, it really did give the Finger Lakes a good look, because people were trying to get out of urban centers and go to places where there was elbow room. And the Finger Lakes is a perfect place to come up and do that. And the Chamber of Commerce, I think they put out some figures last year that it was like 2021 was like had the highest tourism rates ever.
Yes.
Ever. And, and that's kind of, it's just kind of crazy to think about it like that, but I really do feel like it was kind of good for us in a way. But it did give people a look at what we're kind of building here between the craft beverage industry in wine, cider, and beer making, and distilled spirits. Don't ever forget about distilled spirits. Mm-hmm. But, and room to roam, beautiful views.
Yeah.
I believe in that.
I do too.
And I think, coming from our history, and it's always good to know where you've come from. I mean, Seneca Falls, why are we here? It's because of the Industrial Revolution, water, power, all the mills lining the canal side in town, back in the day. And it's just, we're really just trying to reimagine like what our industry is. And it's something that I really do believe in, to answer your question. Mm-hmm. Seneca Falls was the pick for me. And it was never ever a get super buku rich for me, but there was a lot of emotional and business decisions that we made. We're born and raised here. Mm-hmm. What a noble thing to put a shop on Main Street and be successful and provide stuff that people like, and have more people come to your hometown, and because you do believe in it. It's, you want the best, and you're able to put the best out.
Yeah. And
because
unfortunately,
of those emotional things too, we love Seneca Falls.
We do. And it's just unfortunate. And I feel like there's a little bit, there's somewhat of a realistic view. When you drive through downtown, not everything is full. And I always want to tell people, I'm like, that pains me more than it pains you. Trust me. But I was somewhere just this past weekend, and they're like, oh, how are you guys doing? And I'm like, oh, we're doing really great. And he's like, you are?
It's that.
And it's like, again, I don't think he meant to be a dick. Voice. Yeah. But it was just like, I think that they just they don't have the vision that you and I do.
Yeah.
And, I don't think people realize. I think sometimes, I know before I opened a business downtown, I would sometimes take for granted, and I wouldn't be looking left and right and see like, oh, wow, there's a group of people walking into the brewery right now. There's a group of people walking out of that shop. And then, the people that we reach online too. It's just, I think that there is a segment of the area that is just kind of from the old guard, for lack of a better term, that they have things viewed one way, where it used to be a hardware store and a pharmacy and all these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, to see a brewery and a boutique, it just seems like, oh, they might be doing okay, But I think you and I hope that in the future, too, we can inspire and attract more people to come down. I'm active on some of the boards in the town, trying to cultivate some local businesses to come, because...
Yeah, you just hit the nail on the head for me. It's something that we talk about a lot is, people who are aspiring business owners who have some good ideas but don't know how to get started. Like, I'll tell you what, I'll always be available to those people. And it's not to say that I'm a big expert or I'm the end all be all of knowledge when it comes to small business ownership, but I will, share my thoughts, solicited or unsolicited, to them.
Same.
Whether they like it or not. I will because I do want to inspire the passion. That's what it really takes to do something and to be successful in anything. You have to be passionate about it. And I would love for nothing more. I'm passionate about Seneca Falls kind of realizing a potential that we have. And we can't forget to mention our women's history, the women's suffrage movement that started here in Seneca Falls. That is absolutely 100% something to celebrate. Whether you want to market it and brand it, or you just want to celebrate it and be proud of it. We have a lot of rich history here that we can leverage for the better, to attract more people, whether that's more tourism, more visitors in our shops, more aspiring shop owners, just making people just come on, we're doing some great stuff down here. Yeah. And, we kind of want you to be a part of the team, cause that's also what it takes. There needs to be some collaboration. We need to get away from the old guard, away, doing business is seeing people as competitors, and seeing people as team members on the street.
Yep.
And I think for the most part, I can't really think of any bad relationship I have downtown with any shop owners. And that's great. Again, it's just working together. You never know when the next greatest idea is going to come down through with developing that professional network, with our local economy, being involved, just showing up, having a smile on your face and being able to listen and to be able to give advice at times, and to again, just like I said it earlier, we just want to grow together. I want to come up together with everybody.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of vibes that, I want to get out of people and that I want to continue to be. Yeah.
I was just on Marilla from Marilla's Mindful Supplies in Geneva. She started a podcast as well. And one of the questions that she asked me when I was on her podcast, she said, I noticed that you're always promoting and supporting similar businesses. And she said, and the whole topic of the episode was copycat businesses. And I said, well, and I explained how I feel about the development of Seneca Falls, has room to grow. And I just said, think about the pie analogy. Everybody thinks for you to succeed, that means you're taking some of my pie. There's this fixed amount of pie. And it's no, I want to make a bigger pie where we can all do well. I want everyone downtown to be kicking ass. I want everywhere to be full on Friday nights. You know what I mean? And it's and that's a genuine feeling that I have. And I think that that's something, that competitive screw people over in business, at least, in my experience, I just don't think that those people do well in the long run. I think that it's good to just want success for other people. Yeah. And I think that comes back to you. I mean, do you kind of agree with that?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think we're better off together creating synergy where there's more of us and everybody's doing a little something different. Mm-hmm. And it's more of an excuse to pick Seneca Falls over Geneva. And it's not to say that, being competitive with our neighboring towns. And that's great. I love Geneva. I love Auburn. I love Ithaca. We live in such a great spot, centrally located. But, what my point is just creating more synergy, creating more things to do. Mm-hmm. Somebody said to me think of the date night capabilities. Once you're open across the street and you got pizza and live music, and then we can shoot over to Parker's for a drink or vice versa. Yep. Go shopping, pick up something to wear,
At the Gould,
for that birthday party you're going to go to next weekend, and it's just just think of all the fun things you can do, in the great future of Seneca Falls, when there's just more things going on, creating a bigger pie for everybody to get more. Yeah. And I think in the business world, they call that market share, but creating more market share, creating more of a draw to Seneca Falls. more attractive. Let's go to Seneca Falls. It's a beautiful place. There's a few things to do there. Like we can spend a half day, a day. We can spend a weekend there.
Yeah.
And it's great. The Gould's right across the street from us, and it's really nice to see like what they've done. It's a really unique like hotel. It's not like a cookie cutter like you've been to one Econo Lodge or one big chain hotel. You've seen them all, but the Gould is like a really neat spot, and like it's just, I could go on and on about the cool things that you could do in Seneca Falls, and it's just beautiful. You got the canal, you got the bridge. You can go to the National Women's Hall of Fame. You can go to the National Park.
And it's all walking distance too, which is pretty crazy.
It's a wonderful life. We haven't even mentioned that yet.
Yeah.
Like the museum, like so many fun things to do. The Becker Mansion that you can go tour during their business hours and learn about and be immersed and again have an authentic experience.
Yeah.
Like Seneca Falls, we are our own brand.
Yeah. Hey, I kind of love that.
Yeah.
Well, Brad, this has been amazing talking to you. I end every show with a little bit of rapid fire, and this might be challenging for you, but this is to answer everything in one word or one sentence.
I'm ready.
Can you do it? Okay. What is something that you believed about business when you started that you no longer believe?
That every business owner slept in a bed of money every night.
Just sleeping in cash.
Sleeping in a bed of cash. It's not true.
What is the biggest lie
always true.
About entrepreneurship?
The biggest lie about entrepreneurship?
Mm-hmm.
The biggest lie is that it's easy. I don't know. Do people say that? I don't know. This is rapid fire. This is tough.
This is tough.
Biggest lie of entrepreneurship. That you automatically. I'm going to go back to the bed of money thing.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say you kind of nailed it with that first one because
when I was a teacher, the kids they're like, "Oh, you're a business owner too? Like, what kind of car do you drive, Mr. Ellis?" And I was like, classic. That's good. Kid.
I know. If someone approached you that's thinking about starting a business, which now they may, what would you and asked you for one piece of advice, what would that be?
You got to love the work.
Yeah.
My buddy Tom taught me that. You got to love the work.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Hands down. What's the best thing about owning your business?
Best part about owning my business is the sense of pride and the sense of purpose that I get out of it. It's been such a huge like emotional boost to me. When everybody's trying to strive to find their place on earth. But yeah, the purpose that I feel that I have at what I do.
What would you say is the hardest part for you?
The hardest part about business ownership is probably just it's kind of a lonely experience sometimes. Mm-hmm. You have to sacrifice so much, whether that's with your family, with your friends. It takes time. When you say yes to something, you oppositely have to say no to something. Yeah. And that's probably the hardest. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Well, I'm sure anyone who's not following you already wants to do so. What's the best place for people to follow you?
I always throw our Instagram out. It's at Fall Street Brew Co. Basically everything we do every week. You can stay tuned and stay up to date with what we're doing on the corner of Fall and State Street in our current shop, and staying up to date with the build out across the street in the new building.
Yes, we want to see more behind the scenes TikToks of you brewing.
You're always encouraging me to do more of that stuff. So
I'm on you. I know. That's my mission.
That's good. It's a lot of fun, and it's a way for me to stay engaged too with our people.
Yeah. Well, I love to see it. So thank you so much again. Thanks for being a great neighbor. I'm going to hate it when you're across the street, but we'll still be probably seeing you.
We'll just be waving through the window at each other.
Well, thank you so much, Brad.
Thanks, Christine. I love you.
Thanks for watching and listening. Be sure to follow us on all the socials: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook.